Hello everyone, I'm Gönül from Turkey. Today we're going to examine environmental, social and governance financing for Impact Academy project. The objectives and goals of this project are: at the end of this module, participants are expected to acquire the following gains. Firstly, understanding the basic concepts related to environmental, social and governance matters. Secondly, recognizing environmental problems and understanding their causes. Nextly, understanding and evaluating the consequences and importance of ESG investments. And lastly, ability to understand ESG financing issues and evaluating innovative financing methods. And the objectives are: recognizing the problems created by the output investment approach, becoming aware of environmental problems, and becoming aware of social problems, learning the financing requirements and challenges of ESG, and learning ESG financial instruments. And the index have two units. Unit 1, Environmental, Social and Governance Approach. It has four sections. Section 1, Definition and Framework of ESG. Section 2, Importance of ESG. Section 3, ESG Criteria. And lastly, Section 4, Effects of ESG. The Unit 2, Finance of Environmental, Social and Governance. Section 1, Definition and Scope of ESG Finance. Section 2, Historical Development of ESG Integration. Section 3, Integration of ESG into Financial Products and Financial Instruments. And last section, Section 4, Access Processes and Barriers to ESG Finance. And first, Unit 1, Environmental, Social and Governance Approach, and Section 1, Definition and Framework of ESG. The concept of ESG, which is expressed as an abbreviation of Environment, Social and Governance, and which is sometimes used synonymously to corporate with sustainable aims for companies to act responsible towards all internal and external stakeholders in the fields of environment, social and management. ESG refers to the examination of a company's environmental, social, and governance practices and their impacts and progress against these assessments. However, even if the governances of countries are not sufficient, international agreements ensure that companies monitor their environmental, social, and governance practices and comply with the specified criteria. For example, the fact that the border carbon adjustment mechanism will be applied to the iron and steel, aluminum, electricity, fertilizer, cement, and hydrogen sectors, and the sub-product groups to be announced force companies to implement and comply with the ESG criteria. Capital markets use ESG to evaluate organizations and to determine future financial performance. Ethics, sustainability, and corporate governance are considered as non-financial performance indicators and provide accountability and systems for managing a company's impact, such as its carbon footprint. And the Section 2, the importance of ESG. In recent years, the demand for ESG compliance has increased rapidly due to agreements and treaties such as the Paris Climate Agreement and the European Green Deal to solve various environmental problems such as the climate crisis, deforestation, increasing greenhouse gas emissions, and biodiversity crisis. Investors, consumers, and regulators expect companies to provide more transparency and accountability. In recent years, the emerging consumer awareness and the shaping consumer behaviors are increasing thanks to developing communication technologies and forcing companies to comply with ESG criteria. Therefore, companies feel obligated to comply with ESG criteria and to integrate ESG factors into their strategies. Profitability is the most important element for businesses. Focusing on ESG factors can help companies to reduce financial risks and to seize opportunities. For example, energy efficiency and carbon footprint reduction efforts can reduce energy costs. At the same time, consumer demand and investor interest may increase demand for sustainable products and services. Investors no longer focus solely on financial returns. Investors focuses on ESG factors evaluate companies' sustainability commitments and social responsibilities and include these factors in their investment decisions. Likewise, consumers are showing more interest in ethical and sustainable products and services. And Section 3, ESG criteria. ESG criteria are important metrics used to evaluate companies' sustainability performance and to measure sustainable business practices. A regular and clear index on ESG will first allow managers and executives to make better decisions within the company, and secondly, investors will recognize and reward the efforts of companies with capital protection over time. To determine which companies are part of the ESG criteria, it is necessary to analyze them separately. ESG criteria consist of three headings: environmental, social, and governance criteria. Firstly, environmental criteria. Environmental factors are risk factors related to the sustainability of human life. They are essential risk factors. Environmental risk includes air and water pollution, drought, changes in seasons, storms and rainfall that cause destruction, heavy traffic, and urban sprawl, which pose potential dangers to the environment and human health. Secondly, social criteria. Social criteria are based on the relationship of companies with all their stakeholders and the risk management in this area. Employees, suppliers, chain, and the local community where the company's activities take place constitute all stakeholders. The interaction between these stakeholders is evaluated within the scope of social impact performance. And lastly, governance criteria. ESG criteria in the field of corporate governance refer to the decision-making behavior and activities of companies. The activities of officials involved in management processes, including the board of directors, shareholders, and other managers in the field of corporate governance, are evaluated under this heading. In Section 4, Impacts of ESG, focusing on ESG factors have series of positive effects on business world and society. ESG factors evaluate commitment to sustainability, social responsibility, and ethical practices, and this evaluation creates various effects on companies. To measure these effects, scores have been developed with ESG. These scores are and their contents are as follows: ESG General Score. Environmental, social, and governance scores are the overall scores calculated according to specific percentages. Social score. It is the score calculated as a result of the studies and investments made by companies regarding social factors such as labor, human rights, society, and product responsibility. And lastly, governance score. It is the score calculated as a result of the studies and investments made by companies regarding the factors such as management, shareholders, and corporate social responsibility. It is assumed that compliance with ESG will be ensured in the future and that the companies that cannot achieve this compliance will be negatively affected. The effects created by focusing on ESG can be listed as follows. Firstly, companies that focus on ESG factors generally improve their financial performance. Energy efficiency improvements made to reduce environmental impacts can reduce energy costs and can provide long-term savings. And social responsibility projects and better practices regarding workers' rights can increase employee motivation and positively affect in-house efficiency. It helps companies to reduce their financial and reputational risks. For example, if appropriate measures regarding to environmental issues are not taken, the risk of facing environmental sanctions or legal liabilities may increase in the future. ESG practices offer the opportunity to identify and to manage such risks in advance. It can strengthen companies' reputations and increase their brand values. Customers and consumers tend to trust companies with ethical and sustainable practices more and prefer the products and services of these companies. It can help companies to achieve innovative and competitive advantages. While sustainability-focused products and services create new market opportunities, investments to achieve sustainability goals provide competitive advantages for the future. It can positively affect the social and environmental impact of companies. Sustainability projects and social responsibility activities can create value for societies and can serve the purpose of leaving a more livable world to future generations. Therefore, focusing on ESG factors contributes to business and society building a more sustainable future. And Unit 2, Finance of Environmental, Social and Governance. The primary function of finance is to allocate resources efficiently and usefully. The traditional financial approach focusing on the output economy and its financing has resulted in negative environmental, social, and economic consequences. These negative consequences led to a number of environmental, social, and governance agreements being made on both a regional and global scale, and a number of related organizations were formed. These agreements and organizations impose certain responsibilities on both countries and institutions. Various sanctions were foreseen for institutions and organizations that do not fulfill these responsibilities. In Section 1, Definition and Scope of ESG Finance. According to the International Finance Corporation, sustainable finance is defined as the integration of social and environmental factors into the activities of banks and financial institutions, leading to better management of the risks that arise in the context and the evaluation of opportunities that emerge in these areas. According to the European Commission, sustainable finance involves the inclusion of environmental, social, and governance criteria in the investment decision-making process to implement more sustainable economic activities within the financial system. Within the framework of European Union policies, sustainable finance supports economic growth on one hand, while reducing pressure on the environment and while considering social and economic factors on the other. Sustainable finance represents a transformative change in how financial services contribute to a greener, fairer, and more sustainable future. As the effects of climate change become more pronounced and the call for social action rises, this change is becoming increasingly important. Sustainable finance plays a significant role in directing capital towards projects and businesses that have a positive environmental and social impact. This approach is essential for achieving goals such as carbon neutrality, the conservation of biodiversity, and the promotion of inclusive economic development. Sustainable finance includes tools and approaches that pursue the goal of sustainability by taking social and environmental impacts into account in the financial system. In Section 2, Historical Development of ESG Integration. As the 1990s approached and in the early 2000s, there was a shift towards a more comprehensive approach that integrates environmental, societal, and governance factors in the investment analysis. The main ones include the Brundtland Report, Nations Global Compact, the launch of the Global Reporting Initiative guidelines for transparent reporting on sustainability performance. An important initiative in the European context is the Sustainable Finance Action Plan, published by the European Union in 2018. The plan aims to mobilize financing for sustainable growth and direct capital flow towards sustainable investments. This plan includes several key components: the Taxonomy Regulation, the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, and EU Green Bond Standard. In Section 3, Integration of ESG into Financial Products and Financial Instruments. The transition from traditional approaches to the ESG approach and the realization of ESG come with significant financial cost. This cost cannot be solely covered by public resources. Therefore, it is necessary to allocate resources to companies that cause environmental, social, and governance-related issues alongside public resources. A number of financial products and applications have been developed to implement ESG factors for both resource allocation and incentive purposes. ESG focused indices. As ESG continues to gain significant place in the investment world, stock exchanges have started launching sustainability indices to appeal to eager investors and to provide benchmarks for identifying companies with strong ESG practices. These indices serve as reference points for investors interested in investing in sustainable and responsible companies. Examples include the FTSE for Good Index Series, Dow Jones Sustainability Indices, BIST Sustainability Index, OMX Stockholm Sustainability Index, and S&P 500 ESG Index. Impact investment. Unlike traditional investment, which primarily focuses on financial performance, impact investing is intentional and aims to align capital with projects and companies addressing social and environmental challenges. Impact investing encompasses a wide range of themes and sectors, including renewable energy, affordable housing, sustainable agriculture, education, health, gender equality, and financial inclusion. And green bonds. Green bonds are fixed income financial instruments specifically designed to finance projects with positive environmental or climate related benefits. They enable issuers to raise capital to finance projects that promote renewable energy, energy efficiency, sustainable infrastructure, and other environmentally friendly initiatives. The International Capital Market Association has established the foundation of green bond principles. Four different types of green bonds can be found in today's markets. Firstly, standard green theme bond. It's a bond debt obligation that has the same characteristics as a standard bond. Secondly, green revenue bond. It is a type of bond that does not return to the issuer, where the risks in the bond are tied to mortgage cash flows and the revenues are used to carry out green projects. And next, green project bond. It's the bond for one or more green projects where investors directly bear the project risks. And lastly, green asset-backed securities and mortgage-backed bonds. These are bonds that are based on securities such as asset-backed securities secured by green projects and whose repayments are dependent on cash flows generated from these assets. And green loans. Loans used by companies, local governments, or other organizations to provide funding for domestic and international green projects are defined as green loans. The fundamental characteristics of green loans are that they are allocated only to green projects, that they are managed with reliable monitoring, and transparency is ensured through post-financial reporting. The green loan principles, based on the green bond principles established and managed by the International Capital Markets Association, consist of the following: use of revenues, project evaluation and selection process, management of revenues, and reporting principles. And the other one is sustainability related loans. In addition to impact investments, green bonds and funds, sustainability-linked loans are also available outside of capital markets. These loans are credit opportunities where the interest rate or the terms are linked to the borrower's sustainability performance. The borrower commits to achieve specific sustainability goals, such as to reduce carbon emissions or to improve social criteria. If the borrowers meet these targets, they may receive a discount on interest rates or other financial incentives. And social bonds. In the field of sustainable finance, social bonds have emerged as powerful tools to address pressing social issues and promote positive change. These private bonds facilitate the allocation of capital to projects and initiatives that directly target social challenges, enabling governments, organizations, and investors to contribute meaningfully to the betterment of communities and individuals. And the other one is blue lending and bonds. The importance of biodiversity among policymakers is increasing. These are many positive relationships between biodiversity in water and on land, and clean energy, as well as investments that are noted to negatively affect biodiversity while reducing greenhouse gas emissions in some cases. Bonds issued to emphasize investments that protect biodiversity are called blue bonds. And microloans. A microloan is a loan given by a microfinance institution to a micro-entrepreneur to develop their business. Microloans are generally provided for purposes such as meeting working capital needs, purchasing raw materials and supplies, and acquiring fixed equipment necessary for manufacturing. It is a project that provides opportunities for the poor who have a business idea and need a small initial capital to engage in income-generating activities. ESG derivatives in financial markets. ESG derivatives refer to financial instruments linked to ESG factors or financial products integrated with ESG. And lastly, Section 4, access processes and barriers to ESG financing. The framework of sustainable finance varies significantly among countries. The complexity and breadth of ESG issues present a challenge for companies in identifying and measuring relevant ESG metrics. This challenge is particularly important for industries with unique ESG considerations such as the oil and gas industry, pharmaceutical and agriculture and food industry, or small and medium-sized enterprises with limited resources and expertise. This can negatively impact ESG finance. To sum up our presentation, for years, the basic goal of companies in every sector has been profitability, and a way to achieve this output-based economic politics. The damage to the environment, human rights violations, and other social damages have been ignored by these companies and country governments. These managerial approaches led to extreme pollution of the environment and to challenges in seasons, causing increase in poverty and migration. These results began to provoke reactions, especially in developed societies. These reactions led to increased environmental awareness and to make efforts to reduce poverty and to prevent migration for these countries. This framework led to various international conferences, and the result international treaties were made. The Sustainable Development Goals set by the UN in 2015 and agreements such as the European Green Deal led to the effective approach of ESG for companies. It has now become important for companies to focus not only on profit but also on environmental factors such as the climate crisis, social diversity and inclusivity, governance issues such as ethics and transparency. So, thank you for listening to us.